Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Without Parole Developer Interviews. With me this week is Jesper and Mark from Bolverk Games, all the way from really far across the world. What's going on, gentlemen?
How you doing?
How are you doing?
You guys Denmark natives, is that true?
Yeah, both of us.
Born and raised in Denmark. We're true Vikings.
And as the creator of Dick Wilde, do you guys have rednecks in Denmark? Or is that a uniquely American thing?
Not necessarily. We do have our rednecks, but they're quite different. I don't know. They're not as gung ho because our gun laws are not as they're more strict. So they might have a double-barreled shotgun for deer hunting, but no AK-47s or whatnot.
No.
So should we look at Dick Wilde as a satirical piece of art?
Yeah, you could. I mean, I think Dick Wilde presents more of a redneck fantasy than the real thing. So it's more of he's a gun nut. He makes his own weapons. He's a bit of a crazy guy. So he's kind of more of how someone would stereotype a redneck.
Yeah, it's definitely a Danish comedic perspective on a hillbilly stereotype. That's how I take it.
Nice. I don't want to get too far into this interview without addressing the huge elephant in the room, the thing that everybody talks about when the name Dick Wilde comes up, and I'm not going where you think I'm going.
Okay.
All right. The difficulty in the first game is out of control, man, and I know a lot of people were very, very turned off by that. Is that something you expected to hear? How difficult the game was?
We expected it to be difficult, but we didn't expect it to be difficult to the point where only 1% of players would complete it. And
wow.
So yeah, it's way more tough than we anticipated it would be.
Yeah, I'd say to some degree we become a little blind to it ourselves because we played it for so long and gotten used to it, and we wanted to make something that we found challenging ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the more we played and the better we got, the more disconnected we became from the normal player.
And there was another important thing as well. When we released Dick Wilde 1 and we received the feedback that a lot of people found it very difficult, we were like, okay, let's make a patch, let's make it easier. But then again, it's a high score game. You play to get the higher score, so we were kind of conflicted on, is it okay for it to be really tough and only have some people be able to beat it? And how would players feel if we made the game easier, because now it's sort of the game's identity, I guess. So there was a lot of discussions back and forth, and we never actually got around to make a patch for it. So that has kind of been cemented as the identity of Dick Wilde 1. It's super difficult.
I would add that we also had the problem where we were afraid that if we did patch it or change the difficulty, we would suddenly invalidate all the hard work and all the high scores of the existing current players. And handling how you do that, if we should split it up into seasons. And when we were launching it, I mean, some were a little curious about the difficulty, but we did stand by it and say, well, we do want to have it be challenging, because if it's, we didn't want it to be a boring game, because if it doesn't push you back, then it might not catch your interest. If you're just standing there, as we, for example, saw on your stream with Dick Wilde 2, lately we watched you play it, and, it seemed a little boring because it wasn't pushing you like the first game was, and that's always been a concern of ours.
One of our viewers, Dark Two Deeds, was asking about the difficulty in the first game, saying, was there any chance to patch it with an easy mode, like maybe with a separate leaderboard? Was that ever in the cards at all?
For Dick Wilde 1, yes. It has been in the cards pretty much since it launched.
Yeah. That
we would make a patch that could address the difficulty by having an easier difficulty mode, or essentially making a balancing and turn it into seasons, so that players would compete on a seasonal basis and we could add content. But economically, it didn't make sense for us at that point to put out patches for it. But we're looking at that now as well.
So nothing's off the table yet?
Nothing is off the table.
Oh. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And so, you said with watching my stream, I was playing with our good friend Godcannon over at PSVR Underground, and we definitely found that it was. I mean, he was kind of taking the left side of the river, and I was taking the right side of the river, and at no point did it. I think we played for maybe about 90 minutes, and at no point did we feel as though it got even challenging. So my question is did when you play single player, when you play those levels single player and you play them multiplayer, are they the exact same level, and now you just have somebody else to share the responsibility with?
So there's one minor difference, and it is that the enemy health is scaled up by 1.5, so it's essentially 150% health when you're playing multiplayer. That's something we have been back and forth about how we're going to scale this. Are we going to basically remake every level for multiplayer so that there are more enemies to shoot, or are we going to take a different approach where we scale the health of the enemies, perhaps the damage they deal or the damage of your weapons, to balance it better for multiplayer? But we're still looking at the options there, and for now we wanted to see how does the community and how does our players react to how it is right now.
And what are the early impressions? Are most people having a similar experience that I have?
I would say that one big current issue is the fact that the games are different versions when you play PlayStation and PC, because when we're watching streams on Vive or Oculus, people, the difficulty of the levels, the balancing of the levels, the enemies, the balancing of the weapons, like many of all of the stats in the entire game are different, and it seems like people are enjoying it a lot more in the PC version, and it's way too easy on the PlayStation version, because I think like there's like several weeks of balancing that you've done on the levels that's missing on the PlayStation version as it is.
Yeah, so the PlayStation patch was unfortunately delayed a bit, so that's coming Sunday, I think.
Yeah, I think Sunday is the earliest bet, we think.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, that being said, I mean the impressions of ours have varied a bit. So for some very new players of VR, it quickly became very difficult for them, even in Dig Wild 2, which is in general a lot easier than the first one. But when we saw two experienced VR players playing together, they would almost plow through the entire game with no real hiccups.
Yeah, and that was the experience watching you guys on the PlayStation version, just plowing through it and actually being bored. And I remember you saying, "Oh, I actually have time to think about stuff. What the hell is this? Is not Dig Wild." I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. I will say that after that stream, I spent another 3 hours with it this morning, and I'm still very much, I feel like, in the early phases of the game, and I felt like a huge difficulty increase, like as soon as you get to like the whole second map, I started struggling, and then I was like, but then I realized I'm sitting, because waking up, drinking coffee, just kind of like rubbing the sleep out of my eyes, and I'm sitting on my couch just being like do. I forgot this was Dig Wild, and I'm like half of Dig Wild 1 wasn't shooting; it was dodging incoming attacks, dodging incoming enemies. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me reset the game. Let me fix my camera so it knows I'm standing up. I started the game over, and man, suddenly I'm like dodging and playing by myself, and I was like, this is Dig Wild, because you can't shoot all the incoming attacks, like especially when sometimes the level starts you off with just like tiny little guns, and you don't have the money to buy something big yet. You can't shoot everything, so you got to dodge a lot, and I think it's almost to Dig Wild's 2 detriment that it starts off so easy. You don't realize that that's a mechanic you need to employ to get through the game.
That's very good points. Yeah, I mean we try to make it a significant difficulty ramp from world to world. So in World 1 was really intended for very new players and players that aren't experienced with shooters at all. But as soon as you get to World 2, and from there, we wanted it to be a lot tougher. So I'm glad you're saying that it gets better once you get further. And I'm excited to see how you feel about the last levels in the game. If those are more on par with the first game, they might be.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to call Godcannon up and get him back on my team to finish this game for sure.
All right.
Sure, and like another thing at the moment is there's also a couple of enemies and things and mechanics that have been removed in the sequel because of feedback, and that's stuff like, for example, that projectiles cover your screen in goo, and that was just because people didn't like it. Like it was just it wasn't a nice feeling to have something over your eyes, and a lot of people try to wipe it off their face with with their controller, and
Yep.
yeah, so that's one reason why we don't have the screen splatter.
The reason we had it in the first one was also to try and push a bit on the boundaries of what is good VR design and what is not, because we knew that it is not very comfortable to get your face covered in green goo, but we were kind of like, maybe it is an appropriate punishment for being hit. Maybe that will be something that players notice, and maybe it will make our game stand out a bit.
Yeah.
So we decided to run with it at that point. But
and I think it's also to really give people an incentive to dodge. It's just dodge, for the love of God, dodge.
I don't know if you saw Desra and we did a review discussion on Des Wild just very, very recently. It's actually like I think we did just a couple of days before you guys announced Dick Wild 2. It was a total coincidence. And that was one of the things we kind of loved about it, was that, like, man, like if you get hit, you're paying the price, and you're kind of like looking out of one eye, just being like, dodging other stuff that's coming in. I mean, it makes a ridiculously hard game even harder. But yeah, I don't think we were complaining about that.
I mean, we are thinking about adding certain mechanics for the harder levels in the game when we're doing the first balancing patch here. So, for example, have an enemy type on certain levels that spit in your face and you'll have the goo covering your face and all that, or having projectiles that you can't dodge, you can't shoot, so you have to dodge. Playing around with the difficulty more in terms of mechanics on the later levels, introducing those things that were really hard in the first game.
Yeah. And
sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying. I just remembered we also removed the eels, the dreaded eels.
The dreaded eels.
Yeah. Yeah. People didn't like that either.
I mean, they were rough, man. But like, again, it all added to the difficulty. So I don't want to say I'm on one side or the other, especially since I haven't really experienced the third map yet. I'll get back to you on my feelings. But I do have to ask you guys. You guys mentioned that there's a patch coming, and even some of the issues that I experienced for Dick Wild 2 at launch. These are things that just weren't able to get into the game before it released on PlayStation. So instead of me listing all of the issues that I experienced, can you kind of let everyone know what they can expect in this first patch as far as technical improvements?
Well, first of all, we're still gathering feedback from everywhere on Reddit and on people writing us and seeing people play. We're still kind of gathering all of it, and so I think definitely a balancing pass will be one thing. We have some things in the works for the bosses as well to make them a bit more exciting.
But well, I mean, the complete list is also listed on Reddit, what the first patch is covering, because we were kind of bound by the fact that the current patch that's coming next on PlayStation is already in the system, so we can't touch it. So what we're really working on is getting the feedback for now that we can get for the next patch afterwards.
Yeah.
So basically the first upcoming patch will bring the game up to the standard that we wanted it to be on launch, or the best that we could get it to be on launch. And now we're continuing on with the second patch, which we haven't decided on exactly what it will contain yet. But that's the current situation. We're just waiting for PlayStation or the QA process to complete, so that PlayStation players can get the intended release version. That's how it is at the moment.
So things like vibration that doesn't seem to be happening in the aim and the move controllers, that's all part of the first patch?
Yeah, just like for missing audio in the menu, or also a lot of level variations, because our art team has worked hard on making different experiences, ice caves and the ruby gems caves, and like very different environments in all the levels. And they have just not made it with the patch. So a lot of the levels are just going to become very unique with the patch. Yeah. That's one big thing we're looking for it to come out. And just in general, balancing across the board, and a lot of sounds that are missing. And one of the really annoying things is Dick Wild's library of voice lines is very very small on the PlayStation.
Yeah. We also do have some quality of life changes in the pipeline there. Communicating power up better, and communicating the acquisition of keys better for players. So it's easier to follow up on how far am I and these kinds of things. There's the stuff in the works.
Yeah.
So overall, you can see it as a patch that will make Dig Wild 2 better in almost every direction, hopefully.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
yeah,
our
I was
goal for
glad.
it.
I was certainly glad to see that there's a little bit more depth in the second game. Like, just you give me a big screen of things to unlock, whether it be hats or anything. I'm like I need to fill in every single one of those squares. I need to make sure I have all the hats I can get.
Yeah.
And of course, all the different weapons and everything that's included in the second one that wasn't in the first one. Has your team grown at all since Dig Wild 1?
Ooh, did we have Mark 2 in Dig Wild 1?
No, yeah, we've grown a couple of people.
Yeah.
We are.
Mark 2?
Yeah, it's because we have 2 Marks. This is Mark 1.
Yeah.
The other one is Mark 2.
Yeah.
The name just kind of stuck.
Yeah. So
but
we're 10 at the moment.
Yeah, we're 10 in Bolverk Games at the moment, and some on and off, but the core is about 7-8 people.
Yeah, 7-8 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the absolute core, full time.
Yeah.
Now, was Dig Wild 2 like a huge priority after Dig Wild 1 came out, or I see you guys on your website, you've got a couple other projects in the works, at least Dreadmire.
Yeah. So we worked on Dreadmire for 1.5 years almost.
Yeah.
And it was an exciting project for us because we were able to just say, okay, what do we want to make?
Yeah.
And the thing is as development dragged on, we had difficulties landing a deal with a publisher. So once we reached a point where our old publisher approached us and said, hey, are you up for making Dig Wild 2? All of us got excited and said, yeah, sure, we're up for that. So let's get to it immediately. And since then, Dreadmire has been on pause. It's still there. We're still considering whether or not we should jump back on it and make it a thing after Dig Wild 2. But as it stands right now, Dig Wild 2 is our primary focus and making it the best game it can be.
We also do intend to spend more time on Dig Wild 2 this time, continuing to make patches and hopefully also making some more content for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we were not very happy with that. We let go of Dig Wild 1 a little too soon. But at the state it was left after the second patch we dropped with the bug fixing and whatnot, it was a fine game in its own state, so it could stand on its own as it was. But we did really want to make more stuff for it. But the big problem that we had was just the way we've coded the game with how the code worked on PlayStation and on PC, and it just made it unnecessarily difficult for us to add new content to Dig Wild 1. That's one of the unfortunate things, and that's something we've made up for with Dig Wild 2, where it's the exact same code for every single platform. So we're ready to continue working on it.
Nice. That's excellent to hear, man. We always appreciate developers that are, besides being open with the community and responding to our feedback, also just like continually supporting their game, for as long as possible, really. Is there a I don't want to harp on about Dreadmire too much, considering you said it's on the back burner. But if it does come out of retirement, is this something that you're looking to put on PlayStation VR, or is it just more of a PC VR project?
It was supposed to be for PlayStation, but also PC. I mean, our primary target platform is PlayStation, but we also aim for Vive and Oculus as well, and other platforms out there as they pop up. Mm. But there's actually demos available for Dreadmire that you can play on PC. So we had a couple of months where we released our prototype every Friday, along with a dev blog. So anyone who was following us could download the prototype and try it out for themselves and give us some feedback. So it's actually up there in the state where we left it.
Yeah, it's out there and ready to try.
And I know the game cats are very curious. Is there any chance of Kitty Apocalypse coming to PlayStation VR? It's adorable. I gotta ask.
I can't promise anything.
No.
But yeah, I like the idea as well. I would like it there as well.
Yeah, it's not something we've talked so much about lately. So
I mean, no, Dick Wild 2 has been the primary thing on our mind.
Yeah.
But a port of Kid Apocalypse for PlayStation, it's not out of the question. It could happen.
From the community, I have a question I've been meaning to ask you guys since the first game came out. Nixus24 writes, I saw that neither of your games have platinum trophies and realized that I don't know how trophies are put into games. Does Sony dictate whether or not a game is allowed to have a platinum?
Okay, so the platinum trophy is something that on PlayStation is exclusive to what they categorize as large games, big games, big titles.
yeah,
And for Dick Wild 1, we felt it wasn't a big title in that sense compared to games on PlayStation in general. So, and I think Sony agreed with us. So that's why it was placed there. So that kind of dictates how many trophies are in the game.
yeah,
And since Dick Wild 2 is also a small scope game, you could say,
yeah,
there's not any platinum trophy. But it could happen as we provide more content for it, as the game grows. It's not out of the question that it could have platinum trophies in the future.
yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, it could have. So
We would think it would be awesome to have,
yeah,
because we know it means a lot for a lot of PlayStation players.
Excellent. Yeah, I think platinum trophies are always like that secondary goal you have. It's like after you finish the game, you go and check the list and you see, well, just how much more difficult would this be? And for a game that's, I mean, as difficult as Dick Wild 1 was, you really you put that in your trophy collection as a mark of pride. You'll be like, I got the Dick Wild platinum. But yeah, that's.
yeah. Well, we can just hope that people see the trophies in Dick Wild 1 as ultra platinum.
Excuse me.
So
yeah, I feel like if you can beat Dick Wild 1, you can pretty much do anything. Now, Des and I did discuss this on our episode of the review discussion episode of Dick Wild 1, but I don't think everybody is actually aware that that all of the levels in the first game are it's all scripted. It's not like you just have random enemies coming at you nonstop, right? So you can actually learn the levels, correct?
correct.
You can. That was a big point in the design doc of Dick Wild 1. We wanted people to be able to memorize the levels and become good at them. So that's why we placed every single enemy by hand and made sure that they arrive in the right order.
Well, don't forget to mention that you did, because you're the game designer and you placed every single enemy on every single level in Dick Wild 1 and 2.
Yeah, and a kind of a fun note is that I would design them by sitting in Notepad. So I would write a line for each enemy, and the time at which that enemy should appear, and the angle in front of you at which it should appear. So you can actually open like a huge text document and see the entire script for a level there. So I would like smash in the line for a couple enemies. I would grab on the headset, play against it, see if it works, or adjust a little and do it again. So it was a very quick iteration process.
Yeah.
Man, you have to screenshot some of those documents and send them over here so I can show people exactly what you're talking about.
I would have to get the repo, but it could be possible.
Yes.
No promises, but I can have a look.
Yeah, but here in Dick Wild 2, it's even cooler though. You sit in actual 3D where you're looking at the individual segments and hand placing them, like moving them around and setting it and timing it. And we have like a simulator where we simulate the raft driving, and you can see exactly at what given point should it start to appear and disappear, and all of that you sit and do in the editor by hand.
Nice. I feel like when Dick Wild 1 came out, it was at a time when we were like, oh, anything's possible. We're like looking forward to every single experience on PlayStation VR. We want to get our hands on anything that came our way. And then over time, it didn't take much time. The term wave shooter almost became a dirty word. We were like, oh man, more wave shooters. So when Dick Wild 2 was announced, we were like, really? Like, is this like, were people asking for this? And obviously it's, you guys have added a whole lot more to it. So it's not as straightforward of a wave shooter as the original game. And one of those things, obviously, as you mentioned, miles and miles or kilometers of rivers. Was there any worry that Well, I guess two questions. One is that was this implemented so that you could distinguish yourself from other wave shooters? And two, did you find any difficulty in creating a movement in this game, like motion sickness concerns, anything like that?
Yeah, so let's talk about motion sickness first, then, because that was a great concern. Because one of the ways we wanted to elevate the Dig Wild was to have the players float, have some movement. That was one request that we found really interesting that the community had asked for. It is let us see some more environments. Let us float together and let's have some more movement. So we made tests very, very early. Just put 2 players on a raft, and we didn't become sick from standing there. There was practically no issues, and we tested with different people who are get sick from VR games very quickly. We tested with those as well, and at a certain point we ran with it because it was awesome to have some movement.
Yeah, and a big thing was also like our level designer, our team was very happy that they could get more area to express themselves in. Mm-hmm. Instead of just the static scenery, they were very excited for that. So it was also a part of the decision. Yeah. And the raft does move very slowly, as we've seen people comment, but that's a safety precaution for motion sickness.
Yes, because we found that if it travels at beyond 10 kilometers per hour,
it's
11.
It's 2.5 meters per second.
Okay,
so I can't remember how much it is in kilometers.
We kind of pushed it to the limit there and said, okay, this is the point where if we go beyond, people are going to start getting sick when the raft turns and when it has to stop. So it was kind of a balance there.
Yeah.
I will say that when I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh man, I wonder how far they're going to push this. I wonder if there's going to be rapids. I wonder if the whole raft is going to be doing one of these things. And I mean, for people who do get motion sick, I'm really glad that doesn't exist. But as somebody who absolutely loved Until Dawn: Rush of Blood, I'm a little bit sad it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had ideas about what if you could control the speed of the raft yourself. Yeah. What if the speed of the raft was a part of the gameplay in some sense. That imagine if you were sailing and you got hit, then the raft slowed down, but the more you shot, the faster you would go. But the thing is that a change in speed is often what makes people sick in VR. And on raft, when you're standing on a raft, you sort of feel detached from it. It's not like sitting in a cockpit in a flight simulator, so where you kind of feel like you're part of this machine. We didn't really want that on the raft. We wanted you to feel free in your movement. We didn't want you to be stuck in a little ship. So that meant that if we had to change the speed, people become sick more easily if we vary the speed. So that was one idea that we kind of threw out.
Are there other ideas that didn't quite make it, that ended up on the cutting room floor?
Well, there's a lot of ideas. Very
like a book this size, maybe.
Yeah.
Of ideas.
The game at one point was supposed to be a lot bigger than it is right now.
Yeah.
And we had to look at the calendar, and we had to make some tough decisions about what could make it and what couldn't. But in our case, as it is right now, we have a huge back catalog of fantastic ideas that we do want to consider if we should add those as future content patches. So, I
mean, our main focus is adding more content and making quality of life features, making the game better, because we believe that there's a good game in there, and we're seeing that in the feedback as well. Yeah. So we're just pushing on for that goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Like I said, during the first 90 minutes, if I know you guys watched the stream, but for anyone who's watching this who didn't watch the stream and is maybe getting a negative first impression about the game, I will say that my next 3 hours, the 3 hours that were not live streamed, I felt were much more engaging, much more challenging, and felt a little more Dick Wilde-esque, if that's a word. And I'm absolutely looking forward to. Obviously, I ran into a few different bugs, and so I'm looking forward to the patch that, when this airs, this should air on Saturday. So hopefully your patch we'll see tomorrow, Sunday. And hopefully all those things will be sorted out, because I totally agree. There's absolutely a good game in here, and I'll be holding off on my review until I see the first round of patches.
We're very glad to hear that.
Glad to hear you like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you guys are disappointed, right? It's like you worked so hard and for so long on this game, and then the first impression that people are getting just isn't the game that you wanted to deliver.
Well, I don't think any of us are disappointed really, but we have high expectations of our own work, and we want it to be good. So of course we would love to have criticism, and all criticism is welcome. So that's a part of it, we think.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ups and downs. I think we can all be proud of what we made, and then not focus on anything negative. Just push on to make it even better. That's the focus. And we love the community for providing us that important feedback.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I remember the Dick Wilde one, the final mad dash for actually getting it finished, and we managed to get it out in such a fantastic state day one. Like the patches we had to do after that were so tiny, so menial. There were so few bugs, and that's kind of how I feel about the Dick Wilde 2. It should be just as good straight out the door. It should be bug free. It should be a quality product. None of us are in this game to make shovelware. Not at all. We want to make high quality, high polished games. And of course, if you play Dick Wilde 2 and you shoot the sausage gun in the menu and hit the toaster and it doesn't say, ding or explode, like, there's no way in hell we intended you to play the game day one without any sounds in the menu. So yeah.
I shot that toaster so many times today just because I wanted to hit the toast as it came out of the toaster, and I did, and it went flying. I was like, that just feels incredible.
It's a bit more difficult than one would think to hit the toast.
Yeah. So,
is there anything you guys want to add before we wrap this up?
I don't have anything in particular.
No, not so much. Other than, of course, we hope that you enjoy the patch version, and that you'll give us more feedback after that. So the next patch will be even greater.
Yeah, and that goes out to all the community as well. I mean, we're thankful for all the feedback, and it's awesome seeing people play it, and we'll do our part to make it the best game as possible.
And it is no lie. Most of us in the entire office, we sit every day on Google, on Twitter, on Reddit, and we search Dick Wilde, and we search by date, and we read all of it constantly, because we do want to give the best experience that we possibly can.
Excellent. Well, this is an awesome first step in that direction, guys. I really thank you for bringing your game, supporting PlayStation VR, and of course for spending time with me today talking about your game.
Yeah, and thank you.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Make sure you stay in touch, okay? We always want to know what's coming next.
All right, we'll do.
Kitty Apocalypse, we've got your number.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Thanks again, guys. Have a great day.
Yep.
You too.
You too.
All right, you guys, that pretty much does it for another developer interview here Without Parole. I want to thank Jesper and Mark over there at Bolverk Games for being completely open and honest, very transparent about their experience developing Dick Wilde 2. Also, strangely enough, the patch that we were talking about during this show that was supposed to go up tomorrow on Sunday went live while we were filming the interview here on Thursday. So I got a chance to try it out, and they were absolutely right. It improves the game dramatically. So sometime over the next couple days, we'll certainly have a review up for Dick Wilde 2, so you can get our complete impressions on the final product. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. We'll see you back here next Saturday for another developer interview. I love you all.